The job fair was in full swing, with a sea of people gathered in hopes of landing a position. Amid the chaos, a young man shouted in frustration, questioning why no one was hiring at this particular booth. He complained that the company should expand seating to reduce the crowd, adding that jobs were hard to find these days, and this company seemed particularly lazy about hiring. Meanwhile, Yan Wenhan stood slightly apart from the crowd. His attention was drawn to a strikingly attractive woman who was engrossed in her phone. His eyes wandered to the banner above her booth. Invincible. Destructible? Cultural Creativity Company, Limited? He couldn't help but wonder why no one was lining up for this company. Yan Wenhan glanced back at the overwhelming crowd and sighed. It seemed impossible that he would get a turn, even if he waited until the day after tomorrow. The crowd grew louder, each person trying to outshine the others. They shouted over one another, boasting about their willingness to work long hours, take minimal days off, and even pay to intern. Feeling a headache coming on, Yan Wenhan decided to try his luck. He approached the woman at the seemingly deserted booth. As he stepped into the cabin adorned with a blue-colored shield, the woman finally looked up from her phone, tucking it into her chest. The rest of the crowd remained fixated on the other counters, oblivious to his move. The woman addressed him with a calm yet commanding tone, asking him to introduce himself briefly. Yan Wenhan cleared his throat and began. He stated his name, mentioned his graduation from City C University of Technology with a major in civil engineering, and highlighted his GPA of 3.56. He listed his strengths, emphasizing his kindness and communication skills. The woman tilted her head slightly, questioning whether he was hardworking and dedicated. Yan Wenhan chuckled nervously, thinking his resume was probably too generic. He knew his chances were slim, especially since this company wasn't even related to his field. Outside, the crowd continued to clamor, their voices rising in desperation. Yan Wenhan sighed. The situation was overwhelming, and he felt like giving up. But before he could retreat, the woman glanced at his resume and announced that he was hired. Yan Wenhan's face froze in shock. He couldn't believe what he was hearing.
Me?
Talent? No way. His mind raced with doubts. Modern college resumes were 99% templates from the internet. Was this some kind of weird reality show? The woman stood up, leaning closer to him, and declared that he was exactly the talent their company was looking for. Yan Wenhan's thoughts spiraled. A starting salary of 20,000 yuan a month, with 6 types of insurance, 1 housing fund, 20 days of paid vacation per year, great promotion opportunities, annual awards, and generous year-end bonuses? It sounded too good to be true. His mouth fell open in disbelief. 20,000 yuan monthly salary? His mind raced with skepticism. The job market was tough, especially for civil engineering graduates. People were fighting over construction site jobs. With benefits like these, why wasn't he agreeing immediately? Was the salary too low? Or was this some kind of scam? A pyramid scheme? Were they going to sell his kidneys? He had never been this lucky before. He tried to stand and leave, but the woman's piercing glare stopped him in his tracks. With a sharp tone, she made it clear that he couldn't escape after catching her attention. Yan Wenhan felt uneasy under the woman's intense gaze. That look in her eyes, something's off. He scratched his head nervously and muttered an excuse, saying he suddenly remembered he had something else to do. As he turned to leave, a dark aura seemed to emanate from the woman, freezing him in place. She commanded him to sit down, and he reluctantly obeyed, his legs feeling weak beneath him. The woman quickly composed herself and said she needed a minute to convince him to stay. Yan Wenhan couldn't help but think she was about to admit this was all a scam. To his surprise, the woman took off her shoes and sat on the table, showing him her phone. She explained that while the salary might seem suspicious, he could verify the company's legitimacy online. She pointed out public records on sites like AryaScans, emphasizing that they were a state-partnered enterprise with guaranteed credibility. Yan Wenhan glanced at the records. The company appeared legitimate, with no legal disputes, substantial funding, and a 15-year history. Still, he was confused. Why me? He wondered. He was a civil engineering graduate, and this company didn't seem to align with his skills. The woman, Sensing his hesitation, explained further. The company was developing a new tourism project in Wijiangu and needed someone to oversee the construction of recreational facilities. The position was newly created, and they preferred not to hire externally. Yan Wenhan's doubts began to ease. Oh, that makes sense. Sticking to my field feels much more reassuring. The woman continued, praising his resume for its honesty and reliability. She emphasized that the company valued its employees, even mentioning that their janitors earned 20,000 yuan a month. Yan Wenhan couldn't help but think the company sure knew how to flaunt its wealth. She added that they were a little superstitious, and his phone number ending in 888 seemed like a lucky and prosperous sign for them. Yan Wenhan chuckled inwardly. At the end of science is mysticism. Every businessperson believes in luck. When she handed him the contract, Yan Wenhan hesitated, asking if signing it so quickly was a bit rushed. The woman assured him it wasn't. When there's talent, you act quickly, she declared, welcoming him to Invincible Cultural Creativity Company, Ltd. Yan Wenhan smiled nervously and promised to work hard to repay the company. The woman replied with a cryptic remark, "No need to repay, just don't run away." Confused, Yan Wenhan could only nod. She instructed him to go home, pack his things, and start the following Monday. His train ticket was already booked, and a colleague would pick him up at the station. Yan Wenhan was stunned. The ticket was booked so quickly, he felt like an arrow on a bowstring, with no choice but to release. The woman explained that she had used his ID information from the contract to book the ticket, and his details were already synced to his phone. With that, she dismissed him, and Yan Wenhan stood up to leave. As he walked away, the contract details flashed on the screen. The start date was February 28, 2024, and the duration was initially 2 years. However, the woman made a quick adjustment, changing the contract duration to permanent. The next day, City C East Station. Yan Wenhan stood at the station, speaking to his parents on the phone. He told them he had found a job with a monthly salary of 5,000 yuan and was heading to the company now. He kept the details vague, not wanting them to worry or report him missing. His parents praised him, urging him to work hard and perform well in the tough job market. Yan Wenhan assured them he would and quickly ended the call as his train was about to depart. He glanced at the departure announcement screen. C City East Station to Invincible Station, departure time, 11:11 p.m., train WJG 2333, platform 11. The assigned station and departure time felt oddly cinematic, like a plot from a foreign movie. Yan Wenhan applied a sleeping patch over his eyes, preparing for the 8-hour ride. Time to sleep. Let's begin the grind. As the train started moving, he drifted off. The next morning, an announcement woke him up. The train is approaching Invincible Station. Passengers, please prepare to disembark on time. Yan Wenhan removed the sleeping patch and stretched, feeling groggy but alert. As he stepped off the train, he took in his surroundings. The place was beautiful and bustling, with housing prices that must have been astronomical. He realized he had forgotten to ask if the company provided dorms. His attention was drawn to the people around him. Their clothes were unusually elaborate, almost as if there was a cosplay event nearby. Is this normal here? He wondered. Just then, someone holding his photo rushed toward him. His eyes widened as the girl hugged him tightly, exclaiming, "Senior brother, you've finally arrived." The girl flung her arms around Yan Wenhan in a tight embrace, her enthusiasm overwhelming. Yan Wenhan stiffened, his mind racing. This company culture is really enthusiastic. He resisted the urge to hug her back, reminding himself of the 4 years of willpower he'd built as a college student. Flustered, he stammered that she was being a bit too enthusiastic. Internally, he lectured himself to stay calm, reciting the periodic table under his breath to steady his nerves. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron. His thoughts spiraled into nonsensical ramblings about elements, milk, and imaginary symbols. The girl, Uxine or Little Fish, as she playfully introduced herself, beamed with excitement. She couldn't believe Master had actually tricked someone into becoming their babysitter. Yan Wenhan awkwardly introduced himself, and she teased him about her nickname, linking it to Cat's loving fish. Yan Wenhan forced a friendly smile, agreeing to call her Little Fish and expressing hope they'd work well together. She shook his hand vigorously, declaring it would definitely be great, then instructed him to follow her to the company. As they walked, Yan Wenhan observed the anime-like titles, Senior Brother, Master, and mused that this cultural creativity company clearly embraced its quirks. Employees here probably loved anime and cosplay, given how no one batted an eye at Little Fish's cat ears, which looked startlingly realistic. He marveled at their golden sheen, wondering if they were custom-made prosthetics or somehow organic. They reached a sleek, unfamiliar scooter. Little Fish admitted she couldn't drive and had no license, so Yan Wenhan would have to ride with her. He agreed, pretending to enjoy the idea of sightseeing, though internally he felt lucky to have such a kind coworker. The company vibe must be amazing, he thought, unaware of the chaos ahead. As they mounted the scooter, Yan Wenhan hesitated about where to hold on. Little Fish warned him to grip tightly unless he wanted to fall off, especially since they were about to fly into the mountains. Before he could process her words, the scooter lurched upward, light particles swirling around them as it soared into the sky. Yan Wenhan panicked. Why are we veering off? Is she taking me into the wilderness to harvest my organs? His mind spiraled into visions of northern Myanmar scams and kidney theft. Determined to escape, he counted to 3 and leapt off the scooter, only to land squarely in Little Fish's arms. She scolded him, warning that Master had anticipated his escape attempts. There's no village ahead, no shop behind, no buses, trains, or rides to hail, she declared, her tone sharp. Yan Wenhan paled as she tightened her grip, likening him to a cooked duck that wouldn't fly away. Desperate, he begged her to leave him at least 1 kidney. The girl held Yan Wenhan tightly in her arms, cradling him like a baby amidst the dense jungle foliage. Yan Wenhan squirmed, tears streaming down his face as he begged her to spare his kidneys. The girl stared at him, bewildered, asking what he was talking about. Yan Wenhan continued pleading, claiming he had elders to care for and no children of his own. He begged her to leave him at least 1 kidney. The girl frowned, addressing him as Senior Brother and insisting he was misunderstanding the situation. She warned him to stop thinking about escaping, reminding him of the agreement he'd signed. Alive, your master's man. Dead, your master's corpse. She added ominously that disobedience would lead to a fate worse than death. Yan Wenhan hastily promised not to run, asking her to let go. The girl dropped him unceremoniously onto the ground, cautioning him to keep his word. Internally, Yan Wenhan scoffed. She actually believed me. If I don't run now, when will I? To hell with the agreement. What can they do if I escape? A modern college student can't outrun a pyramid scheme? He glanced at the sky and shouted, "Look, there's a flying pig in the sky."
What?
A spirit pig has learned to fly. The girl tilted her head, scanning the clouds for the non-existent creature. Seizing the moment, Yan Wenhan bolted into the jungle. As he sprinted, his thoughts raced. Strength can bend, poverty can shift. But my kidneys must remain intact. Behind him, the girl called out, confused. "Senior Brother, I don't see any pigs in the sky." She froze mid-sentence, realizing he'd tricked her. Enraged, she yelled, "You even dared to lie." Yan Wenhan shouted over his shoulder, taunting her. "You've gotten into scamming but still remain so innocent. You're not cut out for pyramid schemes. If you get the chance, you should escape too." He veered toward a nearby field, reasoning that a scooter couldn't chase him through mud and crops. But before he could reach it, a sharp kick struck his back, sending him sprawling. Blood spurted from his mouth as a translucent system notification flickered before his eyes. Condition for physical attack triggered. Yan Wenhan's eyes widened in shock. Before he could process the message, another notification appeared. Character introduced. Yan. Age: 16. Identity: Spirit Cat Clan. Special skill: Enchantment level 5. Ability scores: Stamina level 5. Strength level 3. Agility level 5. Spirit power level 5. Familiarity score. 0. Evaluation. Outspoken and quick to act. Dazed, Yan Wenhan collapsed, thinking, she's so fast and ruthless. Xian scratched her head, hovering over him sheepishly. Oh no, the kick was too hard. I didn't aim properly. Did I hit his head? The scene shifted to a modest house, where several bottles of wine sat on a table, their contents reflecting the dim light. The woman who had interviewed Yan Wenhan earlier was seated beside him, leisurely smoking a Chinese cigar. Yan Wenhan lay on the bed, still trying to regain his bearings. When he opened his eyes, he immediately grasped his head, a dull headache pulsing in his temples. The woman, noticing that he had stirred, spoke in a calm, almost indifferent tone. Are you awake? Yan Wenhan turned his gaze toward her, still a bit dazed. He was stunned by her appearance. She looked incredibly sexy, a fact that made him momentarily lose his train of thought. Before he could fully process what was happening, a set of strange stats appeared in front of him. Name: Yuaning, age, unknown, identity, Valley Master of Wijianga Valley, special skill, none, overall ability scores, stamina level unknown, strength level unknown, agility level unknown, spirit power level unknown, familiarity score 0, evaluation, a heartless demoness who can do everything except pay salaries on time. Yan Wenhan's jaw dropped as he covered his mouth with both hands. Wages appear? Mom, your son didn't fall into a pyramid scheme, but I've ended up in another world. And now I'm going to be a slave in this alternate world. Yuaning noticed his reaction and smirked, saying, haven't they taught workplace rights and employment training? Forget it. College courses these days aren't very practical anyway. Yan Wenhan blinked, still struggling to comprehend what was going on. Yuaning continued without missing a beat. Let's skip the small talk and get straight to the point. You can think of us as cultivators living in seclusion. Normally, the Cultivators Association oversees us. We're not allowed to use magic in the human world. Even if accidents occur, there are dedicated departments for public relations to explain supernatural events scientifically. That's why most ordinary humans are unaware of cultivators. Yan Wenhan sat there in stunned silence, not knowing what to say. She paused, as if giving him time to process the information before adding, we're a legitimate company. We don't need pyramid schemes, nor do we harvest kidneys. Your life and property are absolutely safe here. Our company is unique, but all the benefits and perks are real. Yan Wenhan, still uncertain, asked, really? Yuaning's confidence remained unshaken. Of course. Our company's information is publicly available on Manhwa Freak Recaps. Your job here is as senior brother, basically like a CEO. You're here not by coincidence, but because I carefully selected you. After all, you're likely not an ordinary human either. You have abilities waiting to awaken. She took a slow drag from her cigar, observing him as if awaiting his next question. Yan Wenhan, still trying to make sense of everything, said, I've awakened some abilities and accepted the existence of cultivators in this world, but I still don't fully understand. Yuaning's eyes gleamed with amusement as she responded, You're brave and smart, calm under pressure. Go ahead. What don't you understand? Internally, Yan Wenhan's thoughts raced. I don't understand anything. I've become a senior brother and awakened abilities. Not even a word of concern for me. Why do I still feel like a slave worker? Finally, he voiced his concern, his voice a mix of disbelief and frustration. So, boss, you're telling me that you really won't delay my salary, right? Yuaning glanced at Yan Wenhan and, with a slight frown, responded, Delay wages? A legitimate company would never delay salaries. Asking such questions is so rude. Don't ask them again next time. Yan Wenhan's mind raced, thinking to himself, the evaluations on the compendium panel can't be inaccurate, right? But boss, somehow doesn't seem very trustworthy. Yuaning, seemingly unfazed, continued, Remember to come early tomorrow. Before work starts, we'll have a small welcome party. I'll introduce you to a few of my direct disciples. They'll be your future colleagues. Yan Wenhan nodded. All right. Yuaning, flicking the cigar lightly against his head, added, "As senior brother, you need to lead by example and maintain a good image. There are clothes prepared for you in the dorm wardrobe.
Pick something to wear."
That's it for now. Go wander around on your own. I'm going to lie down." Yan Wenhan, now alone, sat there, wearing new clothes that gave him a distinctly Chinese appearance. "Finally, I've officially become a member of the workforce. Phew. From now on, I'll use these hardworking hands to win over my colleagues. Just thinking about it is exciting." His thoughts then wandered, but speaking of which, I just joined. How did I become senior brother already? Could it be because I'm the oldest? Better check the compendium again to avoid forgetting names. Making a good first impression is super important. The one with cat ears who likes cosplay is Yu Xian. The one with glasses who loves smoking and drinking is Boss Yuaning. Thinking about it made Yan Wenhan feel a little excited. Am I not the chosen one from a web novel? With a protagonist-only system, my amazing journey begins here, saving the world, leveling up, slaying monsters, financial freedom. His mouth watered as he imagined the possibilities. At that moment, Yuaning suddenly appeared beside him, causing Yan Wenhan to jump. "What are you grinning about?" she asked, before sitting down and instructing him, "Give me a lighter and grab the beer from the cabinet." Yan Wenhan, stunned, nodded, and went to get the lighter. Holy crap, when did Bossy appear? I didn't see her come in through the front door. And this posture. He handed her the wine and the lighter, his thoughts racing. "Here's your wine." Yuaning used the cigar to open the bottle of wine before taking a sip. "Drinking in the morning? Is this your idea of healthy living?" Yan Wenhan commented. Yuaning merely replied, "Light the cigarette." Yan Wenhan, slightly confused, responded, "Huh? Light it? How can I do that?" After fumbling for a moment, Yan Wenhan managed to light the cigarette, thinking to himself, "Is this how it's done?" Suddenly, Yuaning's expression shifted. "Someone is coming." Yan Wenhan, intrigued, asked, "Where?" A purple haze snaked through the air, and Yan Wenhan froze in place, horrified. From the haze emerged a beautiful lady who gracefully walked in and sat down. Another cosplayer? Is the cosplay community this competitive now? Yan Wenhan thought, bewildered. The woman introduced herself. "I am in Xuanzi, second senior sister of Wujiangu Valley." She sat down elegantly, and Yan Wenhan watched as she appeared to radiate an aura of power. Soon after, another figure entered, a striking woman with a large, sensual frame. She introduced herself as Yang Yi, fourth junior sister of Wujiangu Valley, before taking a seat as well. A system window appeared in front of Yan Wenhan's eyes. Name and Xuanzi. Age, 23. Identity, Ancient Goose Spirit. Special attribute, Poison. Special skill, Goo Sorcery. Name, Yang Yi. Age, 21. Identity, Demon Empress. Special attribute, Rage. Special skill, Energy Wave. Yan Wenhan's eyes widened. An ancient goose spirit and a demon empress? Yuaning noticed his shock and laughed. "Haha, don't mind them. They're always like this. Wujiangu Valley still has plenty of warm and friendly juniors. Where is everyone?" Just then, a man entered. His presence was overwhelming, and Yan Wenhan felt as though his eyes were blinded by his brilliance. The man introduced himself. "I am Yuan Yi, a peerless sword immortal." Yan Wenhan's thoughts were consumed with disbelief. What an over-the-top protagonist entrance. Even his evaluation and ability scores are different from everyone else's. "I'm defeated." Yuan Yi, with a broad smile, greeted Yan Wenhan warmly. "Senior brother, we've been waiting so long for you to arrive. From now on, we'll share blessings and face hardships together as fellow disciples. If anything comes up, just give the word, and I'll be there immediately." Yan Wenhan, still processing the situation, thought this junior brother protagonist has a great personality. Next, little fish entered holding a tray of tea. "Master, drink less wine and have some tea instead." Yan Wenhan couldn't help but think, yesterday, I thought Yu Xian's anime vibes were over the top. But today, She seems the most down-to-earth and relatable. Yu Wanning, noticing everyone had arrived, spoke up. Now that everyone's here, let's do some quick introductions. Anyone who rambles gets kicked out. Don't waste my nap time. And Xuanzi introduced herself confidently. I'm in Xuanzi, reincarnated as an ancient goose spirit. Yuan Yi followed. I'm Yuan Yi, a transmigrated peerless sword immortal. Yang Yuyi simply stated. I'm Yang Yuyi, also reincarnated. Lastly, Yu Xian grinned and said, I'm Yu Xian, of the Spirit Cat Clan. Yan Wenhan, reflecting on the introductions, thought, the intros were brief, but why does everyone's self-introduction sound so pretentious? Clearing his throat, he finally spoke up. Ahem, I am Yan Wenhan, a native, the firstborn. Yu Xian led Yan Wenhan to his new room, explaining that his previous guest quarters weren't ready yesterday. As she walked ahead, Yan Wenhan noted how oddly normal she seemed compared to the others. You'll stay in this room for a while, Yu Xian announced, gesturing to a modest yet tidy apartment with a bedroom, living room, and bathroom. Yan Wenhan nodded, impressed by the privacy and living conditions. We'll be living together from now on, Yu Xian added cheerfully. Yan Wenhan forced a polite smile. All right, I'll be counting on you. Junior sister? No, it's me who should rely on senior brother's care, she replied, bowing slightly. Yan Wenhan hesitated, then asked, by the way, since we'll be living together, I can't not know what my work responsibilities are, right? Internally, he grumbled. After the morning's pretentious introductions, they disbanded without assigning tasks. Getting paid for doing nothing felt unsettling. Yu Xian assured him his duties would be sorted soon. Here, let's add each other on WeChat. I'll add you to the group. She pulled out her phone, and Yan Wenhan's eyes widened at the group name. 5 talks for beauties. Today is another day, without bloodshed. Are you serious? This is the group? He asked, incredulous. Yu Xian smiled. This is the group for Master and her direct disciples. Future announcements will be made here. Joining will help us bond too. That night, Yan Wenhan lay in bed, scrolling through the group members' stats. And Xuanzi, ancient goose spirit. Yuan Yi, peerless sword immortal. Yang Yuyi, demon empress. Everyone seems so impressive. What exactly does this system do? If it's just a compendium, it's no better than a roster. Completely useless. He sighed. Compared to the reincarnators and transmigrators, he felt like a random extra in a domineering protagonist story. No need to introduce yourself, I already know all about you. If I had this skill outside, I'd be an unstoppable HR professional. Suddenly, a system window flashed. Collected 5 character compendiums. Activating familiarity system. When familiarity reaches level 10, the favorability system will unlock. Higher favorability grants access to corresponding abilities. Yan Wenhan sat bolt upright. So, if I max out everyone's favorability, I'll be invincible? This system has potential. But his 4 junior siblings, each fierce and otherworldly, left him torn. Who should I start with? He shrugged. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Junior sister Yu Xian, it's you, he declared. She seems the easiest to get along with. I'll max out her familiarity first. Leaping out of bed, Yan Wenhan practiced greetings in front of a mirror. Hey, junior sister, are you lonely tonight? No. Too greasy, he groaned, burying his face in his hands. These past 2 years of scrolling short videos have ruined me. He settled on a simpler plan. Start with a normal greeting, get closer, maybe stargaze together. He knocked on Yu Xian's door. 5th junior sister, I'm Yan Wenhan. I'd like to get to know you better. Silence. Could she be practicing martial arts? But it's already late. Forget it. It's inappropriate for a man and woman to meet alone at night, he muttered, turning to leave. Suddenly, Yang Yuyi materialized in front of him, her clawed hand slamming him against the wall. Her eyes glowed coldly, like a predator's. Yan Wenhan tried to shout, but she clamped a hand over his mouth. I didn't gain any familiarity, but I'm about to lose my life, he thought wildly. Yen the extra, halfway through a startup, now meets his untimely end. Is this the part where I get reincarnated or a soul transfer? It was a moonlit night, the soft glow of the moon casting long shadows as Yang Yui walked toward the house. Behind her, a faint blood trail marked her path, the result of a recent hunt. In her hands, she held a rabbit, its lifeless body hanging limply. She washed her hands at the washroom sink, then stepped away, her gaze drifting toward the hallway. She paused when she noticed someone standing in front of Yu Xian's room. A frown crossed her face as she observed him. He's not supposed to be here. With a swift movement, she lunged forward, ready to strike. But just as Yang Yui was about to land a devastating attack, a voice from behind called out sharply, "Stop, fourth senior sister. He's our senior brother, not a bad guy."
It was Yu Xian.
Yang Yui halted midair, eyes narrowing as she assessed the situation. "Oh, really?" she murmured skeptically. She then advanced, blocking Yan Wenhan's movement by pinning his arm to the wall with the sharp tip of her high heel. "Why does your silhouette look exactly like my enemy's?" Yan Wenhan, flustered and desperate, cried out, "How would I know? Maybe I just have a generic-looking back." Yang Yui's eyes sharpened, her voice dripping with suspicion. "Tell me, are you a reincarnated too?" Yan Wenhan, wide-eyed, quickly replied, "I'm not. I'm just a regular human. Didn't I already introduce myself? I was born naturally." A scoff escaped Yang Yui. If you're not, then why are you the one who ended up in Wujianga Valley? Are you here to sow discord among us?" Yan Wenhan, still unable to explain, shrugged helplessly. "How would I know?" Yu Xian quickly intervened. "Fourth senior sister, this must be a misunderstanding." Yan Wenhan nodded vigorously in agreement. "I also want to know why I ended up here," asked the recruiter. "Wait, that's Master?" Yu Xian stepped forward, her voice filled with concern. "Just let go of senior brother first. He looks like he's about to suffocate." Yang Yui's suspicions didn't waver. "Back then, you must have used some trick to deceive my former master. Who's to say you aren't pulling the same stunt now? I refuse to believe this is all just a coincidence." Yan Wenhan, now thoroughly exasperated, exclaimed, "Do you think I came here willingly? I was just looking for a job, and somehow I got tricked into coming here. Then I signed an indefinite slave contract, and they won't even let me escape. Who am I supposed to complain to?" Yu Xian, trying to calm the situation, added, "Senior brother even tried to jump out of the carriage to escape before arriving. He definitely didn't come here willingly. Fourth senior sister, let's talk this through." Yang Yui, still glaring at Yan Wenhan, nodded curtly. "No matter what, from now on, I'll be watching you closely. If you pull anything like this again, you'd better watch yourself." With that, she turned and walked away. Yan Wenhan, feeling a mix of frustration and relief, sighed as she left. "This is ridiculous," he thought. But suddenly, a system window popped up in front of him. "Yang Yui, constantly looking for enemies. So she thinks I'm her enemy, no wonder she's so emotional. I wonder what she's been through to be searching for someone every single day." Yu Xian, noticing his discomfort, asked, "Senior brother, are you hurt?" Yan Wenhan, still caught up in the chaos, blinked in confusion. "Huh." She gently pointed to his neck. "There's a wound on your neck." Yan Wenhan, now noticing the small cut, murmured, "Huh? Oh yeah, she's so close." Yu Xian smiled warmly, offering help. "Come to my room. I'll put some medicinal wine on it for you." Her words hit Yan Wenhan like a thunderclap. "Come to my room." He froze for a moment, his thoughts spiraling. "Big brother, my leg seems to be hurt too. Can you rub some medicine on me?" He began to imagine entering a girl's room, his heart pounding at the thought of it. Girl's room, girl's room. Yu Xian tilted her head, puzzled by Yan Wenhan's frozen stance outside her door. He stared at the floral decorations lining the hallway, his mind racing. Entering a girl's room for the first time had him nervously overthinking every detail. He wondered if real-life girls' rooms matched the pink, frilly stereotypes from manga, and whether Yu Xian's space would reflect her own quirky charm. Steeling himself, Yan Wenhan stepped inside. only to freeze again. The room wasn't filled with stuffed animals or pastel decor. Instead, weapons dominated the space: blood-dripped blades, double-headed forks, and a mechanized umbrella bristling with hidden spikes. Yan Wenhan was speechless. Is this really a girl's room? He thought, his mind racing. Is she planning to use all 18 torture techniques on me? My legs are shaking so much I can't even move. Xian glanced at him, her expression confused. Senior brother, why are you acting like that? She asked, sensing his discomfort. Take a deep breath, he muttered to himself. Time for this old man to investigate. With a newfound resolve, he stepped further into the room, his eyes still darting around as he took in the chaotic scene of weapons scattered everywhere. This can't be normal. Xian, still holding her weapon, seemed completely unfazed. Don't laugh, senior brother. I just enjoy collecting things, she said nonchalantly. Yan Wenhan stared at the unorganized mess of weapons and torture devices. Is this something a normal person would collect? He whispered to himself, growing even more uneasy. And look at how these things are just piled up. There's no organization at all. Are there no normal people here? Suddenly, Xian bent down to retrieve something from under the bed, causing Yan Wenhan to freeze in surprise. She pulled out a box and opened it, revealing even more weapons. He couldn't hold back his shock. Why do you collect all these? He asked, his voice trembling. Xian responded matter-of-factly. If I get the chance, I'll present them to my father so he can enjoy them. Yan Wenhan processed her words for a moment. So, her father likes these things, he thought. Well, I suppose men do enjoy weapons and such. But then, as if on cue, a window popped up on his interface, revealing that Xian had a bad relationship with her father. His eyes widened in disbelief. Wait a minute. Was she being sarcastic just now? Could it be that my junior sister has a hidden dark side? Xian, noticing his growing unease, motioned for him to sit down. Senior brother, please sit. I'll apply the medicine. As she began to tend to his wound, Xian's voice grew serious. Fourth senior sister Yang Yi is actually a kind-hearted person. She was just really unlucky in her past life, so please be patient with her. If anyone's to blame, it's that scumbag who tricked her. Her anger flared as she spoke, and in her frustration, she accidentally broke the bottle of medicine. If that man reincarnates, we have to make sure he dies, she declared, her eyes burning with fury. Yan Wenhan, startled by her outburst, quickly raised his hands in a calming gesture. Can you not scare me like that? Just talk normally, he said, his voice shaky. Then, curious, he asked, is that her ex-boyfriend? Xian shook her head, her expression softening slightly. No, she was the demon empress. Always busy with work, she had no time for romance. Yan Wenhan scratched his head in confusion. Oh, so he's just a regular enemy. Xian nodded, a small smile on her face. You're lucky, senior brother. You only got a minor flesh wound. The last guy, well, never mind. Does it hurt? Yan Wenhan quickly replied. Not at all. It doesn't hurt one bit. But deep down, he thought, I think I can guess what you were about to say. Meanwhile, Xian, still holding multiple weapons, continued to tend to his wound. Yan Wenhan couldn't shake the feeling of dread creeping over him. This place is terrifying. Did I get kidnapped into a cult? Once she finished applying the bandage, Xian smiled at him. All right, senior brother, you're all set. Yan Wenhan bowed slightly, trying to mask his anxiety. Thanks for your hard work, fifth junior sister, he said, before quickly making his exit. Get some rest, fifth junior sister. Good night. As he walked away, Yuaning, who had been quietly drinking wine in the corner, paused for a moment to watch him leave. She took another sip and then sighed, her voice soft. What a nice day. Another peaceful and friendly night. Moonlight filtered through the dense jungle canopy, casting fractured shadows over Yan Wenhan as he stumbled through the undergrowth. His breath came in ragged gasps, the humid air clinging to his skin. This place is way too dangerous, he thought, ducking under a low-hanging vine. I thought they were cute, soft girls, but they're ruthless. I have to run. He clenched his fists, torn. The memory of that 20,000 yuan salary, the insurance, the retirement fund, it all taunted him. Wealth comes with risks, but you need to survive to enjoy it. His ID card burned in his pocket like a mocking talisman. The heavens want me to escape. Abandoning his luggage, he bolted deeper into the jungle. Black crows erupted from the trees, their caws sharp as knives. Yan Wenhan skidded to a halt, chest heaving. The distant city skyline of Wujian Valley glittered mockingly, its lights no closer than when he'd started. Am I trapped in a ghostly maze? A scorpion scuttled onto his shoulder. He flicked it away, recoiling as a monstrous mother scorpion emerged, carapace glistening, stinger arched like a scythe. Yan Wenhan's legs gave out, terror leaching the strength from his bones. And Xuanzi materialized from the shadows, her voice flat. Master said, "We can't let you escape." The scorpion obeyed her unspoken command, dragging his unconscious body back to the castle. Yu Wanning lounged in her opulent study, cigar smoke wreathing her like a phantom. Yan Wenhan awoke on a velvet chaise, disoriented. "Did I die?" "I already told you," she drawled, blowing a smoke ring. "This is a state-owned enterprise. An iron rice bowl, you work here for life." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Disciples filed into the room, blades unsheathed, poison vials glinting. Their collective malice thickened the air. Yu Wanning leaned close, her whisper icy. "Everyone here is friendly. Just live a good life." A system window flickered. Yu Wanning familiarity, +1. Warning. Never make him angry. Yan Wenhan's stomach dropped. So this is the dagger hidden behind the map. It was early morning, and Yan Wenhan sat at his desk, writing in his notebook. Today was March 23rd, 2024, and after another exhausting week of work, he found himself reflecting on his position as the so-called male lead. He realized just how irrelevant his existence truly was, utterly insignificant. His third senior brother, Yuan-Yi, was the real show-off. 2 days earlier, on the rooftop, Yuan-Yi stood, his violet eyes sharp and focused, his sword humming with power. With a calm breath, he took a step forward and made a swift slash. The air split with the force of the strike, energy trailing behind his blade like a ghostly crescent. The wind howled in protest, but Yuan-Yi remained unfazed, his stance steady. Sheathing his sword, he exhaled, his practice session coming to an end. But in actual battle, he knew that one strike would be all it took for victory. He praised himself for his efforts. Suddenly, a voice shouted at him from below. It was Yu Wanning, admonishing him for being too noisy. Yan Wenhan appeared soon after, calling out to Yuan-Yi. Master said to keep it down. If you disturb others, it's one thing, but if you disturb her sleep, that's a big problem. Otherwise, she'll make you ascend on the spot. Yuan-Yi jumped off the roof and landed in front of Yan Wenhan, apologizing. He explained that he was doing his best to hold back and had only used 1/10 of his strength. He then elaborated, saying that sword training required perseverance. If one didn't progress, they would regress. Yan Wenhan couldn't help but think to himself, how much more could he possibly improve? He's already half a step into godhood, the strongest in this realm. He could dominate the world with no equal. Yuan-Yi suddenly challenged. Senior brother, I must challenge you. Will you accept my challenge? Yan Wenhan, ever the humble civil engineering student, responded with a laugh. I'm just a weak, helpless civil engineering student. I can carry bricks, but I can't fight. Yuan-Yi, visibly shocked, exclaimed, Impossible. In my previous life, senior brother was always the first disciple under master. Anyone worthy of being senior brother must be a powerhouse. Yan Wenhan, trying to keep the situation light, replied, I really did study civil engineering. Look, this is my area of expertise. He handed Yuan-Yi a book titled If You Don't Do This, Your Work is in Vain. I came here mainly because I was called upon in a time of crisis to take care of everyone, Yan Wenhan continued with a smirk. In simpler terms, a babysitter. Yuan-Yi, trying to be serious, responded, Taking care of the team means cleaning up everyone's mess, which means skill level. Max senior brother, you're truly humble. Your demeanor as a hidden master is something I must learn from. I've been too flashy. From now on, I'll follow senior brother's example and live a low-profile life." Yan Wenhan, now confused, noticed a notification pop up. Yuan E familiarity +2. A pure-hearted genius who knows nothing about life outside of sword training. He sighed, thinking he's way too innocent. Did he spend his entire past life locked in a dark room, training with a sword until he died? True, keeping a low profile is best, Yan Wenhan agreed. Never let others guess your full abilities. That way, when the time comes. Yuan E enthusiastically chimed in. Yes, staying low-key lets you flex without anyone realizing it. Yan Wenhan thought to himself, is that what I meant? No, it's not. Why do all male leads think like this? Yuan E then asked, is this how those overpowered novel protagonists are written? Senior brother, your words truly open my eyes. Yan Wenhan, shaking his head in disbelief, thought, as expected, every protagonist is just a little crazy. I can't believe that one day, not only would I be working alongside people who can soar through the skies and ride flying swords, but they'd also be listening to my advice. Am I the crazy one? Or is this world insane? Yuan E, storing away a void storage item, turned to Yan Wenhan and asked, is the human world fun? Ever since I was reborn, I've never left Wujian Valley. I've been training here the whole time, but I really want to see the outside world. Senior brother, can you take me out? Yan Wenhan, thinking about the situation, knew that cultivators like Yuan E were restricted by the Cultivators Association. If they entered the human world, they couldn't use their powers freely. But Yuan E had casually used 1/10 of his strength, nearly shaking the earth in the process. He wondered, can he really hold back out there? Yuan E, still hopeful, urged, Senior brother, won't you grant your junior brother's wish? I traveled from ancient times to the modern era and haven't even seen the world yet. If word gets out, people will think I'm some clueless country bumpkin. Yan Wenhan, holding his head in frustration, thought, what's happening? I'm a straight guy, but why am I falling for his pleading? Damn it, is this the protagonist halo at work? After a while, Yan Wenhan sat in his room, contemplating. Should I take him out or not? If I do, it'll definitely increase our familiarity and improve my standing with him. Maybe I'll ask Master for leave tomorrow. It's been a month since I left school. I need to prepare for my graduation defense. If Master agrees, I'll set some ground rules for him. No using powers randomly. Basically, I'll just treat it like taking care of a kid. Inside Yu Wanning's room, the atmosphere was thick with a haze of alcohol. Yu Wanning was lounging in a chair, her body dizzy from drinking, yet she insisted to Yu Xian, I'm not done yet. Make me more. Yu Xian, preparing another drink, replied, almost. You have to shake it for at least 5 minutes before it foams. Suddenly, a knock came at the door, followed by a voice. May I come in? It was Yan Wenhan, standing in the doorway. Requesting leave. I need to return to school for my thesis defense. Yu Wanning gestured for him to come in. Yu Xian handed the drink to Yu Wanning, saying, Master, have this. Please taste it. As Yan Wenhan glanced at the drink, he thought, Junior sister's bartending skills are truly impressive. However, our company's structure does resemble that of a queen and her group of loyal followers. Yu Wanning, handing him a form, said, Fill this out if you want leave. Looking at the form, Yan Wenhan thought it actually feels quite official. This is the first time I've had a real workplace experience. Yu Wanning, thinking to herself, mused, this is the first time someone has proactively informed me about taking leave. Finally, the leave request form has a purpose. Yan Wenhan quickly filled out the form and turned to Yu Wanning. Master, junior brother asked if he could come with me to the city. He's never left the mountain and really wants to see the outside world. What do you think? Yu Wanning paused, looking thoughtful. Yuan E said he's never left the mountain. Huh, she said, her tone suggesting something more. She seemed lost in thought for a moment. Yu Xian also paused, listening carefully. Yan Wenhan noticed the change in their expressions and wondered, Master and junior sister's reactions seem a bit off. Does Yuan-e have some sort of dark history? Yu Wanning handed him another form. Then fill one out for him too. Yan Wenhan, slightly puzzled, thought, that's it? Shouldn't there be some strict instructions or warnings? Yu Wanning then turned to Yu Xian, adding, oh right, Yu Xian, your father sent me a message. Yu Xian, startled, responded, my dad. Yu Wanning explained, he wants you to come home, so just go with your senior brother. Yan Wenhan, hearing this, couldn't help but think, the same dad who's supposed to face all kinds of cruel punishments? Yu Wanning continued, yeah, he said he might be dying and wants you to come see him. Yu Xian's face fell, and she became silent, her sadness palpable. Yu Wanning gave her a moment before adding, it's up to you. If you choose to stay, your family can't force you to go back. Yu Xian, still silent for a moment, finally spoke, her voice quiet, I need to find my mother. I'll go back with senior brother. Yu Wanning nodded, then it settled. Yan Wenhan, preparing to leave, said, all right, I'm heading out. But Yu Wanning stopped him, calling out, wait, I almost forgot. Sign a guardian responsibility agreement too. If anything happens, you're responsible for covering it. Yan Wenhan, looking at the form, thought, why does this feel like I just boarded a pirate ship? Meanwhile, Yuan-e was already at the train station, eagerly waving them over. Senior brother, junior sister. Hurry up, hurry up. He showed them his ticket as he passed through the lane. Yan Wenhan, seeing Yuan-e's confident movements, thought, didn't he say he's never left Wujian Valley? Then what's with these smooth, practiced movements? He's clearly a pro. Yuan-e grinned. Senior brother, am I smart or what? I looked up how to take a bullet train online and learned everything instantly. Yan Wenhan, skeptical, replied, why do I not believe that at all? As the train began its journey into the night, Yan Wenhan sat beside Yu Xian, his mind swirling with thoughts. Didn't the system say junior sister hates her father? But in the end, blood ties are still blood ties. If a father is seriously ill, she'd still worry, right? Since she's not bringing it up, I won't ask. Yu Xian remained silent, her sadness weighing heavily on her. The train stopped, and everyone began to disembark. Yuan-e, noticing Yu Xian's demeanor, said, junior sister didn't sleep at all last night. She just stared out the window, lost in thought. Yan Wenhan, keeping his voice low, responded, sure, something's going on in her family. Let her be for now. Yuan-e, still curious, said, senior brother, I always thought junior sister was master's adopted daughter. I've been in this world for over 10 years, and I've never seen her leave Wujian Valley. Yan Wenhan, surprised, asked, huh? Never left? Yuan-e nodded. Yeah, for the longest time, I assumed she was an orphan. Yan Wenhan, his thoughts racing, wondered, maybe her father abandoned her, and that's why she's looking for her mother. That makes sense. It must be one of those tragic family drama stories. Abusive father drives the mother away and abandons the daughter. Now, everything clicks. He mentally pieced together the tragic story in his mind. Yuan-e, suddenly pointing excitedly to a car, exclaimed, senior brother. Yan Wenhan, snapping out of his thoughts, looked to where Yuan-e was pointing and saw a Bentley. It's a Bentley. The sight of the luxury cars and the crowds around them surprised Yan Wenhan, who couldn't help but think, what just happened here?